Okay, welcome boxing fans to a new edition of the Zabtyson Boxing Show here again. Sorry for the delay. I know I said I would get this video out about Monday or Tuesday. It's now Friday, the day before the big fight of this year. Manny Pacquiao versus Shane Mosley. Cannot wait for the fight. Pacquiao weighed in just recently at 145, Mosley at 147, right at the welterweight limit, of course. Cannot wait for the fight, but let's go ahead and talk about the UFC fights from last week. UFC 129 had George St. Pierre, of course, defending against Jake Shields. He just kept it standing up basically the whole time. Jake Shields could not get him down. Very similar to the fight he had with Josh Koscheck back in December of last year. Just used his used his punches, and just boxing basically. He's been working with Freddie Roach here lately a good bit, so he's obviously improved his boxing skills quite a bit. So he's I like it when they stand up more anyway than go to the ground. I don't like it when they just get on the ground and just stay there and just are grappling for control. That's very boring to me. Plus it really doesn't look right either. But anyway, so good win for Pierre. Now he is in possible talks of fighting Anderson Silva next. That would be his next fight. Anderson Silva, of course, fights in August against Yushin Akami. I think that's the same guy that he knocked out while he was on his back with a kick. Back in like 2006, I think Silva was on his back and he did an up kick to Okami and he just knocked him flat out. I believe that's the same guy that he did that to. But anyway, Silva should have no problem with him, but we'll see what happens. And St. Pierre maybe will move up to 185 at middleweight to fight Anderson Silva. That is, of course, a huge super fight for the UFC. I don't think Pierre really has that much of a chance against Silva. I don't see anything he could really do to beat him. Silva has, long legs, long arms. He can just keep him on the outside, basically, and I think he really beats him pretty easily. But we'll talk more about that if that ever happens. Anyway, on the undercard, Jose Aldo, the first featherweight UFC champion, defended his title against Mark Hominick. Hominick actually was pretty impressive. I had the fight 3 rounds to 2 for Aldo. I gave him the first round and the third and fourth rounds, and Hominick actually had Aldo pretty badly hurt in that 5th round. He got him down and was just pounding away to the body. Aldo looked exhausted, so that was probably the worst fight I've ever seen of Aldo. I know he does have one loss, but I never did see that fight, so I don't know what happened there exactly. But Aldo was impressive when he was, when the rounds he won very impressively. He knocked Hominick down twice in the fight, once with a straight right hand and also a left hook, I believe was the other knockdown that he got on him. And he looked like he might get him out of there actually, but he didn't. Just a very tough fight for both guys, but good performance overall for Aldo. Just probably the worst performance I've seen of him. He got hit more than any other fight I've ever seen him get hit in by far, but still he definitely did win the fight. So don't know who he would fight really next, but there's people out there, of course, so we'll see what happens. Definitely keep your eye on him. He's definitely one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world at MMA. And also the other fight on the undercard, there was a lot of fights, but I'm just going to talk about this one, and that's going to be it for that card. Had, of course, Randy Couture losing to Lyoto Machida by knockout, and it was just a front kick, a jumping front kick, I believe. And Machida just caught him perfectly and knocked him right out immediately with the kick. He didn't even have time to follow up with any punches. As he was going over, the ref had already stopped it. So good call by the ref, and Randy Couture did retire after the fight. We'll see if that really takes place. He is 47 or 48 now, so I wouldn't be too surprised if that is it. So Machida moves on, and maybe he can get himself back into a title shot, possibly. He does have the 2 losses now against Rampage and Shogun Rua, back-to-back losses, but now he did get a win back under his belt, so that's good for him. And we'll see what happens. Okay, so let's move on to boxing, and we are a day away. I'm looking very forward to the fight, Mosley and Pacquiao. And I'm going to go ahead and give you my prediction, and it will probably surprise a lot of you, but I am going to pick Shane Mosley by an 11th round knockout. I am picking the upset, and a lot of people will think I am absolutely crazy, and that's fine, but here is why I am going to pick him. A lot of people look at Mosley's last two fights as pure 100% evidence that he has absolutely no shot against Pacquiao. And, that wouldn't be incorrect if Pacquiao was not a complete opposite fighter than the two people he fought in his last two fights. Of course, he fought Floyd Mayweather back in May of last year, got outclassed, dominated, embarrassed, the worst he has ever been in his whole career by anybody. Mayweather actually hurt him towards the end of the fight, and could have possibly even stopped him if he would have just stepped on the gas just a little bit, maybe not. I don't know. Mosley has a very tough chin. He's never been knocked out or anything, never really been close to being knocked out, other than the first Vernon Forrest fight, which he was very hurt there. But anyway, Mayweather just put on a dominating performance, outclassed Mosley in every way. But anyway, that's Floyd Mayweather, a defensive genius, very accurate, doesn't throw nearly as many punches as Pacquiao, and, probably not as fast just for that reason, just because he doesn't throw as many. Now, if he did let his hands go as much as Pacquiao, I'd say he's just as fast, but he throws one punch, two punches at a time, usually. And, so that's why, that's why I don't consider him really as fast as Pacquiao. But if he were to let his hands go in like the 5 to 7 punch combinations like Pacquiao does, he might even be faster, but we don't know because he doesn't really do that. But anyway, Mayweather just dominated Mosley, and it was a horrible performance for Mosley. Not because he's old, not because he's washed up, not because of any crap like that the HBO announcers tried to sell you on that night. It's because Mayweather is just the better fighter, and that is Floyd Mayweather, a defensive mastermind, brilliant, genius, thinking fighter, 100%. So he is definitely a smarter fighter than Pacquiao, smarter fighter than anybody in boxing. The smartest fighter I have ever seen, ever, by far, is Floyd Mayweather. He gives people absolutely no opportunities to land punches on him. He is a defensive fighter, a defensive genius, counter-puncher all the way. So Mosley never got an opportunity to really hit Mayweather. The worst thing that could have happened to Mosley was what happened in the second round when he hurt Mayweather. But it wasn't enough to put Mayweather down or out, and Mayweather realized that he took his best power shot, and from that point on, he walked right through Mosley for the rest of the fight. For the next 10 rounds, he absolutely dominated Shane Mosley. And very impressive fight from Mayweather, of course. But anyway, Mayweather does not open himself up. That's why Mosley was not able to do anything against Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather is a counter-punching defensive genius, and I know I've said that about 5 times now, but I can't stress that fact enough. Okay, but anyway, that's why Mayweather beat him. Then, of course, Mosley fought Sergio Mora back on September 18th of 2010. Did not look impressive, of course, but when you have a guy running from you doing absolutely nothing at all, it's very hard to look impressive at all. And no, he didn't look impressive, but Mora ran for about 11 and a half rounds out of the 12. Mosley chased him around the ring, so he didn't get many punches landed very cleanly or flush or anything, because Mora was in 100% defensive mode, and he wasn't even counter-punching or anything like Mayweather did, of course. Mora is just a very defensive fighter, and like I said, very tough to look good against a fighter like that. So Mosley did not look good. Yes, he definitely won, and it was a flat-out robbery that they scored at a draw. The judges should be absolutely executed for that. Don't remember who the judges were, but basically all judges are pretty horrible. They always have some BS scorecards out there. But anyway, Mosley clearly deserved that decision, so he definitely won that fight. He chased the guy around for 11 and a half rounds. He won every round, basically. So anyway, and he did not look impressive. So now we come to Pacquiao, a complete opposite fighter in every single way than Mayweather or Mora. He comes forward, yes, he moves around in circles, can get you turned around to where you don't know where the hell he is because he gives you so many different angles. And his defense is his offense, and of course it has worked very, very well so far. And he, has a lot of power, speed, and very accurate as well. And when he lets his hands go, it's about 5 to 7 punches in his combinations, not 2, 3, and 4 like most guys. And he is very fast. But he does come after you. He does come forward. Therefore, he leaves himself very open a lot of times. He doesn't concentrate on defense much. He has never fought a fighter with Mosley's speed or power. Mosley is naturally the bigger guy, also, because he's had many more fights at this weight than Pacquiao has, of course. And he's naturally bigger, just naturally stronger. Now, I don't know about punching power, stronger, but as far as just like physically stronger, I think Mosley is definitely the stronger guy overall. And I think when Pacquiao lets his hands go in those 5 to 7 punch combinations, like he'll do, because he'll get them off, he'll be throwing. But when he's doing that, Mosley will be able to time him, because Mosley has a pretty good defense. Mosley will be able to, duck and slip those shots and go after Pacquiao himself, and that will open Pacquiao up for some counter shots from Mosley, and Mosley can throw about 3 or 4 in there each time. No, he won't be throwing as many as Pacquiao, but he can make Pacquiao miss at that time when Pacquiao's letting his hands go, and he can land, 1 or 2 here and there all the time, out of maybe 3, 4, 5 punch combinations that Mosley will throw. And I think that's how he will beat him. He shouldn't try to outbox him. I think he's just got to go to war with him and just rely on his defense and rely on Pacquiao, opening himself up when he lets his hands go. He's an all-action, all-aggressive fighter, come-forward fighter, Pacquiao is. So that's where Mosley has his chance. He's still very fast, still very powerful, still very accurate. So he can time Pacquiao when Pacquiao lets his hands go. Now, if Mosley's getting hit by a lot of those punches when Pacquiao lets his hands go, of course it's not going to be a good night for Mosley. He won't be able to think about, timing him in between the combinations. But as long as he can duck, slip, or block, or duck, whatever, the first 2 or 3, then he can get his punches off, and I think he can land on Pacquiao. And I think he can wear him down. He needs to go to the body right from the beginning. Just mix them up, body and head. And I think by the 11th round, Mosley will knock Manny Pacquiao out and upset the world of boxing completely. I think he's going to do it. I would not be surprised if Pacquiao beat him, of course. Both just 2 great Hall of Fame fighters, obviously. Unless Mosley just does get old absolutely overnight, and I'm not saying he is now, and he definitely does not look like an old fighter that's just lost all of his skills to me or anything. So, and unless that happens, I really see him beating Manny Pacquiao tomorrow night. I'm kind of in a bad situation. I don't know what to really hope for, because I do like Shane Mosley better than Manny Pacquiao, but if he wins, then the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight is of course ruined, at least for about 2 years or so. If Pacquiao even decided to continue his boxing career, he might not. That fight is a ways off if Mosley wins. And of course, if Pacquiao wins, well, the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight is still on course to happen anytime soon. But of course Mosley loses, and that's not good. But anyway, overall I'm pulling for Mosley to come up with the upset. I'd love to see him beat Manny Pacquiao. Nothing against Pacquiao at all. I like both fighters a lot. 2 of my favorite fighters of all time. and I just can't wait for the fight. There is no way that this will not be an action-packed fight.